Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going in Raw Countout. It's a show where we count things down in long form, in podcast form.
Yeah, that's what we do now. We're podcasters.
We take an in-depth look at the subject du jour. And today the subject is Vince McMahon hitting that panic button.
Yeah, he seems to be a pretty reactionary type guy.
Yeah.
And when he feels like his back is against the wall, he tends to smash that panic button pretty hard.
I'm going to talk to my sister today about the what we discussed on yesterday's show about the stock stuff, given that she's been in the business for like 20 years.
I guess that makes sense, yes.
She probably has some insight. You know, speaking of, my sister's been in the finance business for 20 years. I should really know more about finance, to be honest with you. But
well, that's not necessarily true. I mean,
I talk to my sister a lot, though. You'd think I'd be like, hey, you know,
like my dad's had like the same job for like
Monica, let's get some insider trading going. Come
35 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I figure when I sit down and hang out with my father, rather than him want to talk about work, which he does, 8 to 12 hours a day already.
Yeah,
he wants to talk about anything but that.
Yeah, no, my sister's always very open though. Like I've asked her what.
No, my dad would be too.
I ask her what she does for a living because I don't really know. And she tells me, and I still don't understand it.
Yeah.
A lot of management and data stuff.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. She makes a lot of money, though. Anyways, enough about my sister. This isn't Top 10 Times Monica here hit the panic button. This is Top 10 Times Vince McMahon hit the panic button. We saw it most recently with the wild card rule, which we'll get to in a little bit.
And I'm sure there's more than 10 instances of Vince losing his mind and freaking out about things, but these are the 10 that we found.
I would actually prefer 10 times we didn't know about him hitting the panic button. That's probably more interesting because he seems like a very interesting guy. Quick shout out to some new patrons here also. We've got MCF, Ryan Root, and Chris Gardner. You guys can all support us on the Patreon at patreon.com/Stephen Larson. Got tons of bonus content, including yesterday we put up Ask Stephen Larson. Oh, man, it's a great episode. You should check that one out.
That's a good one. Yeah, that was fun to do.
I guess I don't really remember it, to be honest with you.
I got to talk about shoes, so that's good.
There you go. We'll talk about that later.
What?
Anyways,
what?
The video I sent you yesterday about painting your Jordans.
Oh, I didn't watch that.
Oh, man. Anyways, let's get a move on. Number 10.
10.
The Nacho Man, and what was the other guy?
The Huckster.
The Huckster.
The Huckster, yes, the Huckster.
Yeah.
So let's go back to September 1995, Steve.
Okay.
To I think the second episode of Nitro, the first time that Nitro and Raw go head-to-head. Nitro live, Raw, pre-recorded, and it was also the first time that WCW's new Monday night show defeated Raw in the ratings.
Oh, what was the date on this? September of 95?
September 11th of 1995.
Nitro started in July, right?
I guess so.
Was it just a couple months before it started beating the WWF?
Yeah.
Oh, no wonder he panicked. Continue, please.
And so at the dawn of 1996, January, we're talking. WWF started rolling out skits featuring billionaire Ted, of course, an actor doing a horrible Ted Turner impression. Too bad they couldn't get Will
Sasso?
No,
no, Will Forte.
Will Forte to do it because his Ted Turner is outstanding.
Yeah,
and also featured a couple of older gentlemen poorly cosplaying as Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, dubbed the Huckster.
Oh no,
and
it
the
did
Nacho
start.
Man.
It did start in September. When did it start beating the?
It started beating Raw September 11th.
It started on September 4th.
So the second episode beat Raw.
I guess so. Yeah.
It was just barely. I think it was a matter of a few thousand viewers. And these skits were terrible, horrible.
Yeah, they're really bad.
So bad, in fact, that after a couple months, USA Network President Kay Kaplowitz announced that these skits were coming to an end, and she wanted to take a look at Raw scripts before the show aired. Ratings were pew!
Yeah.
And there's another, seemingly panic-fueled reactionary move by Vince. You got WCW over there. This is before the NWO, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
You got WCW over there beating them in the ratings, and rather than Vince reflecting, taking a look at his product, finding ways to improve his product, he just goes out and does a completely reactionary thing. Hey, I'm going to have a couple of older gentlemen cosplaying as Hogan and Savage, watching videos of current WWF superstars and saying, oh, I could never do that. I'm too old to do that. I'm too infirm to do that. and then it's going downhill from there.
Well, the more interesting aspect of this also is the idea that USA stepped in and started being a bit more, exercising a bit more oversight with what programming was running, and we see that these days with the wild card rule, which seems to be a result of now. And this is something that we kind of predicted back when the Fox thing, the deal originally happened, was announced, or was rumored to have been happening. Is, well, what if, I mean, if you take this to its like worst possible situation, what if Fox wants their own champion that appears exclusively on Fox Broadcasting, and that person is Roman Reigns? And what if USA wants their own champion that appears exclusively on USA, and that person is
also
Roman Reigns?
Or you could also, another way it could get really bad is if each network had their own representatives in the creative room when scripts are being written, edited, that could have not exactly ultimate authority over the creative process, but have a huge stake in it. That would be a major problem as well.
Well, it would be a major change to the way things are done. I mean, might be the one case where it might make things better.
It could be.
I don't know.
It could be a Donnie Darko situation where the director, when he had someone handling or overseeing the edit. Good movie.
Yeah.
Director's cut.
Solid movie.
Horrible movie.
Yeah. When he's left to his own devices, evidently not so great.
Yeah.
So interesting situation. And yeah, that's going to be interesting over the next 12 months or so. But yeah, this is, I don't know if this is the first time that USA, so Nitro debuted in 93.
No, Raw did.
I'm sorry. Raw debuted in 93.
Yeah. So a couple of years into his existence.
Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting stuff. Anyways, let's move on now. This is a fairly recent one. Number 9. The McMahon Shakeup.
Yeah, December 17th, 2018. We were there for that.
Ratings were so in the toilet.
At the time, record lows.
Yeah.
That was only about 6 months ago.
That they decided to... It's a weird, man, that these days we sort of, our analysis... The more interesting aspect of WWE programming is not the stories, it's what are they going to do to the stories in order to try to boost their ratings. What's their latest programming strategy going to be? We're not allowed simply to, I mean, we can. We enjoy for the most part.
We can't just sit around on the couch and enjoy as the stories unfold.
But there is this cloud hanging over the programming, like, oh, what are they going to do now? What are they going to do now?
Yeah, and that's existed for a while. But in late 2018, when ratings were in the toilet, as I mentioned earlier, at time record lows. At the Raw in Sacramento here on December 17th, 2018, the McMahon family came to the ring to open the show, publicly fired and humiliated Baron Corbin, because he was Raw GM at the time, and the idea, I guess, was it was at least kayfabe. They were pinning Raw's struggles squarely on him.
They're all there. I mean, there did seem to be, because they were spotlighting him so heavily, as a bit of, WWE understands that for the most part, the people that are plunking down $10 a month for the programming, they're also the kind of people who are going to be watching channels like Cultaholic, What Culture, Wrestle Talk, even our humble show over here, and sort of understanding, ratings are down. There's this Baron Corbin guy who's in a lot of segments. So the WWE, in a weird way of storyline, saying this is why the product's bad, also appealing to the fans. Hey, we're listening to you. Ratings should go up now. Things should be better now because we're doing this to him. Wrestling is so weird in that.
It is. I mean, also they said, okay, well, us McMahon family on screen is going to take charge of the shows. No more general managers. Because of that, you're going to see new faces, fresh matchups. You are authority now, WWE Universe. And they announced some NXT call-ups, which they announced via slideshow form. Coming soon to WWE. So far,
2.
Two have made a modest impression.
Lacey Evans and Lars Sullivan.
Yeah.
The rest were Nikki Cross, EC3.
Heavy Machinery.
Heavy Machinery kind of around, kind of.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily made an impression yet, though.
No, I agree.
And it seemed obvious, pretty much like Vince decided, okay, I'm going to call up, these superstars right now with zero plan. In fact, it was so poorly thought out in advance that they just had a video package edited together announcing their imminent debuts. And then it took weeks for them to show up. And when they showed up, it was plainly obvious they had nothing for them. A complete knee-jerk reaction to ratings issues. Hey, let's just call people from NXT and see if that helps at all.
And also, you understand that when Vince feels there's a problem with when he looks at the ratings and says, "Oh man, I got to do something," I'll wheel myself out in front of the camera because we could have added in here. I mean, the idea of Vince putting himself on camera is not really a new thing to try to boost ratings. If you recall, we were there at the Monday Night Raw when Vince didn't he fight CM Punk or something like that? What was
CM Punk was there. Yeah, I remember that.
And Vince decided to come back and show them all how it's done because ratings were down.
Yeah, that's the night that CM Punk elbowed somebody.
Yeah,
crowd, yeah,
right. I forget what role Vince had in coming back, but it was like, "Oh, I'm going to show you guys how it's done." Bah. And that again is just a panic move. It's like, "Oh, ratings are down." Well, I was once one of the hottest draws during my time with Stone Cold Steve Austin. People think when Vince is around, it's very important stuff, and that's very quickly worn thin.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you just take a look, 6 months ago, the McMahon shakeup happened, and they say, "Oh yeah, you're the authority," but at least in the case of Shane sort of becoming an on-screen heel, he was already an authority figure on camera, and his story's actually been pretty fun. He's been really good as a heel.
Yeah, he has been.
But with McMahon, it's obvious he doesn't want to be out there.
Yeah.
It's so awkward. It smacks of desperation, and it's exactly what we were hoping wouldn't happen as a result of this McMahon shakeup. But as a worst-case scenario, it's what did happen.
Yeah, more or less.
That's what we outlined what's the worst thing that can happen here? More heel Vince, and that's what happened.
Yeah, and while heel Vince, you can make the point or case that inserting himself in Kofi's storyline helped him gain a ton of momentum heading into WrestleMania. You can also say him inserting himself in the Becky Lynch storyline after the Royal Rumble put a damper on her momentum significantly. All the promise that or potential they alluded to with this announcement very quickly dissipated. We haven't really seen a ton of fresh matchups. I mean, like Baron and Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre still all hang out to various degrees. We saw some fresh faces, but by and large, the five or six people that were called up haven't made much of an impression.
And then when they did call up Aleister Black and Ricochet, it was in very non-dramatic manners.
Yeah.
Again, Triple H comes out and he gives us a slideshow of top NXT talents, and then obviously Ciampa had his neck issues and Gargano went back to NXT.
And then as far as fans being the authority, that hasn't really necessarily panned out per se.
Well, okay.
We had Kofi win at Mania, Becky main event.
Yeah,
in that sense, yes.
Seth got the Universal Championship. I mean, in a sense, that stuff has gone down. And it's funny because just to go back to your thing about McMahon and the Kofi thing, it's like they could have gone with a much more entertaining heel, and that's Shane McMahon.
Yeah, no.
Much more effective heel. He could have been doing double duty, being the authority guy for the Kofi thing and calling Mrs. Dad baked potato face.
But I was going to say, in terms of fans being the authority, you got the top stars winning at Mania, but in a broader sense, none of the issues that really that have been plaguing WWE for a number of years have actually ever been addressed.
Well, one of the things that people complained about the most was the revival with these ridiculous Lucha House Rules matches. And look at where we are. Look at where we are now. Uzi hot.
Being humiliated,
Yeah, we're doing that now.
Yeah.
So they can't... Vince McMahon he has a really hard time going against his natural predilections. He really does. Moving on. Number 8. Roman loses at WrestleMania 34.
I mean, this seemed like a given that Roman would walk out of WrestleMania 34 as Universal Champion.
What did we have our predictions
we had all our confidence points on Roman winning, I'm sure. All of them.
Probably.
All of them. Because it's like, this makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, and allegedly heading into the match, moments into the match, we still would have been right on that.
Yeah, this is from, at the time, Jeremy Botter of Bleacher Report. And I kind of remember hearing that an audible was called Day of.
Yeah, me too.
For Brock to end up winning. But Jeremy Botter of Bleacher Report says that audible was made during the match because Reigns wasn't getting over.
So during the WrestleMania 34 match, main event, Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, Vince McMahon didn't like how the audience was responding.
Had he not been paying attention the prior 3 years?
Evidently not. Maybe he thought that was a prime opportunity. It was like waiting for, and it's funny because when you look at when Roman eventually did win it at SummerSlam, do you remember how they handled the crowd then?
Oh yeah, it was like a complete bait and switch thing where it's like, oh, Braun's going to cash in. People are excited about this. No, he's not. Roman wins. Oh, goodbye. We'll see it. It's like, oh, Robin Hood's next. We got to cut off this show as fast as we can.
What's the street corner game with the cups?
Oh, well, shell game pretty much. It's the shell game.
Yeah, shell game.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was, oh, Braun's going to cash in. No, he's not. Robin Hood's next. Roman's champion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he just shows, like, he basically just confused the crowd into a pop.
Yeah, I know.
And that was justification.
And then get out of there as soon as you can. Get out of there on a long shot. That's what happened. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is pretty shocking when this match was booked like one of those matches on the WWE video game where you can give yourself infinite finishers.
Yeah.
Because it was just finish after finish after finish. And I wonder if the story was, okay, all right, Brock, go in there and lay out Reigns with a finish. Roman kicks out. Finish, kick out, finish, kick out, finish, kick out, finish, kick out, finish, kick out.
And that's
Spear win.
That's supposed to build the crowd when he keeps on kicking out. And they were just like...
I mean, I remember the crowd just absolutely crapping on this match from the get-go.
Like, this is crap. Didn't people crap on the crowd for crapping on it? I remember Brian Zane, saying, at least give the match a chance. Which is a point I totally understand.
Oh, yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with it, given how, as much as I respect him and his opinion,
yes,
I don't necessarily agree with it, given how that match started off. Just finished like, oh, that's how it's going to start. Okay, boo.
I mean, you had Roman in the ring for the last 3 years or so. Fans felt like he was being shoved down their throats by Vince. And then you have Brock, who was Universal Champ for the whole year prior. And you're like, gosh, just get this belt off this guy. He's never around.
Yeah.
So there's no one for the audience to get behind in that situation.
Yeah.
It just wasn't, unfortunately. And so people just dumped on it immediately.
The funny thing is, I don't think people would have dumped on it had the match started out like the Mania 31 match. Remember that match was pretty decent.
They were actually trying to tell a story other than Roman could kick out of everything.
Yeah.
Which, in my opinion, isn't really a story.
Like, do some wrestling.
I know.
You'd be surprised at how far wrestling will get you.
I know. Actually taking time and telling a story in the ring.
And a product called
how you can actually
World Wrestling Entertainment.
Get the crowd involved in the match and the drama of the match. But there's no drama in the match when Brock hits an F5 and Roman kicks out. And then he hits another F5 and Roman kicks out. And hits another F5 and Roman kicks out. It's like, okay, it's just going to keep kicking out of all these.
It's just gimmick. Gimmick.
And then when he does, and you're like, okay, well, I guess not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Novelty's worn off, Vince.
Yep.
Moving on. Number 7. The fake Diesel and Razor Ramon.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo.
Chico is here. Oh, man. So, as you guys may or may not remember, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, a.k.a. Diesel and Razor Ramon.
Oh, they left. That's pretty memorable, yeah.
Well, okay, some people might be young. Maybe they're new to the product. I don't know. Sometimes we got to set the stage for them. WCW offered them big guaranteed money contracts, far fewer dates, and zero oversight. They could just do what they wanted to do.
And when Bischoff said, we are in control, I mean, it wasn't true for him, but for the NWO, yes.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they left in the summer of 1996. And
a couple months later, yeah.
And, yeah, Vince had Jim Ross, good old Jim Ross. They executed a heel turn with Jim Ross. And
everybody wants to see a heel announcer.
And he wheeled out. And it's funny because I remember when we talked about these guys before at some point. And so I watched all the segments that they were in on Raw, and they were just really confusing. There was the way these segments were executed. They would come in and like interfere with matches, and then they had their own matches, and it was like commentary. Like I think Gorilla was on commentary, and he was like confused. They were sort of kind of half acknowledging that they were fakes, but then they wanted us to believe that maybe, I don't know. It seemed like the execution was dipped in desperation and shame almost.
Yeah.
Like they were kind of ashamed to be doing this.
So, I mean, you look at this in one case, and you see all that. You see that this is obviously a panic move. You see two of their top guys going to the other company, and kind of insinuating they're still the same characters they were in WWE. And so you say, well, no, they're not. We still have the same characters here. Look, they're right here. Mm-hmm. They didn't go anywhere. But it's obvious to the fans of the show watching that it's not the case. However, if you look at it from the other perspective, maybe I don't know if this has ever been confirmed, that, of course, WWF sued WCW because when Scott Hall showed up on Nitro, he was really strongly insinuating that he was still Razor Ramon.
Well, I don't believe Scott Hall has an actual accent.
No, he doesn't, but he had a little bit of an accent when he showed up on Nitro. A little bit.
The accent's supposed to be, where is Tony Montana from? Cuba? Cuba, yeah. So it's supposed to be a Cuban accent.
Yeah.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah. A little bit of it was there. He said, you know who I am. He's Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
But you don't know why I'm here.
Yeah.
And WWE sued WCW about that. And I remember hearing this was the case, that one of the reasons they did that was to further their case in court, saying they own the gimmicks of Diesel and Razor Ramon. And I guess they thought, well, if we just trot two new wrestlers out with these gimmicks, it's plainly obvious that we own these characters and these gimmicks.
Well, you know what this sounds like? It sounds like...
As opposed to having, like 5 years of videotape with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash playing those gimmicks.
Let me ask you this. Do you think this might have been... Because if this is the case, then I'm totally fine with the move. Suggested by lawyers as a way to bolster their case.
If your lawyers are rejecting this, you should probably get new lawyers.
Suggested by bad lawyers.
Like I said, because you have in your tape library years of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall performing as those characters. If, I'm guessing in their contracts, it says something to the effect of whatever characters you play are owned by WWE, having a couple of Diesel and Razor... NWO Diesel and NWO Razors.
Here's the thing that WWE, I think, probably should have realized. Maybe their lawyers should have realized. And granted, I've never been to law school, Larson. I've just watched a lot of Dateline.
I've watched a lot of Law and Order.
There you go. But if I'm not mistaken, there are certain properties that when they're being licensed, the company licensing them in order to maintain the license must use those properties. However, in this case, WWF was not licensing Razor and Diesel to WCW, nor were those being licensed to WWF by Kevin Nash and Scott Hall.
No.
They own the property. They do not have to utilize the property in order to keep the IP.
Nope. Nope.
So I don't think this was on advice of lawyers. This was probably just some weird thing of Vince McMahon that he dreamt up while exercising, and he thought it was a good way to stick it to W. Do you think Vince ever thought that they could become as popular as Diesel and Razor Ramon were?
I doubt that ever crossed his mind.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think motivation ran.
You don't think it's going to be, I'll show him how to do it right?
No.
What was the motivation? You think it was steeped in his weird legal mind?
No, I think the motivation behind this is the same motivation behind the Huckster and Nacho Man.
Oh, to humiliate them so they'll look like lower, like
not like their star magnitude, not as high a wattage as they thought. I think essentially show that Hall and Nash were replaceable. Essentially,
it also, this is hilarious though. It also did end up getting Hall and Nash raises. They didn't ask for raises. Apparently, Turner, WCW front office, found out because WWF advertised it that Razor and Diesel were coming back. They evidently panicked. Talk about a panic move. Thought that somehow, some way, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were going to make an appearance, and they gave them raises to ensure that didn't happen, as opposed to threatening them with cease and desist, or maybe even picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, so we hear that.
Are you going back? You have contracts here, man."
Yeah. No, we're not going. We have no idea what you're talking about.
Know what you're talking about.
We have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, you want to throw some more money at us, all right? Hey, yo.
Yeah, that's the weird. Wrestling is so weird.
It's weird. There's a lot more weird coming up here, too, in a bit.
Here we go. Number 6. Wild card rule.
Oh, gosh. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen Vince in pure desperation move like he was this past Monday.
Well, it was on camera. You could feel the desperation
It
tripping
oozed through the camera onto your television screens. There was like a thick layer of desperation that started coming down on my TV screen.
Like you've written a product, you've written a thing, you've spent every waking hour that you're not up, all 20 hours a day that you're up, and crafting this product, getting all these ideas from all these lowly writers, and then crafting into your perfect Vince written product. And then USA and Fox each reach out with their damn lawyers saying, programming people saying, we need big stars. No, we need big stars.
We all need huge stars.
We all need big stars
everywhere.
USA shouldn't have anything we don't have, and vice versa.
Yeah.
In terms of wattage, star wattage.
So rather than undo the brand split, you just like, all right, wild card rule 3, 4, limited number of stars can cross brand between shows. I mean, it was so convoluted. WWE had to issue a press release after Raw to explain it all.
It's bad. Do you think they sent that press release to the email accounts of the USA and Fox programming people?
Yeah, probably.
Just so you guys know what's going on.
Just to make it crystal clear in case you can ascertain the plan based on what happened on Raw.
If you have any questions, go ask Paul Levesque.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, USA Network.
Oh, man.
I don't have time for that. You no-sold them like you apparently no-sold Luke Harper.
Exactly. Yeah, so we'll see how this one works out. Here's the thing, even Simon Miller over there at What Culture, he did an episode of Why This Won't Work, and he's like the most positive guy there is. If he can't tell you why it's gonna work, you know it ain't gonna work.
Probably not gonna work.
What's that gif of him? Something like that. Oh man, that dude is legit like one of the nicest guys.
Oh, he's super nice, man.
He's the best. Anyways, let's move on. Number 5. Vince buys out Trump.
So I kind of forgot about all this. This happened in 2009. Vince shows up on an episode of Raw, and he announced that he had sold Raw, just Raw, to Donald Trump.
Neither of us were watching at the time.
Yeah, not a whole lot.
Really?
Apparently, this USA sent out some sort of press release that was completely kayfabed, announcing Donald Trump purchasing Raw. So guess what happened?
Stock plummeted.
Stock price dropped 7%.
Again, dude, if you're going to buy stock in a company, shouldn't you do some research first? Isn't this exactly what I was talking about? Who are these shareholders that are not doing any research in the companies they're buying stocks in?
I'm telling you, man, they just do research on one thing, whether it's going to make them money or not. They don't care about anything else.
You know, that's another point that I really should have made the other day when we were having that discussion about stuff we really don't know about. Is if
that's what we do for a living?
Well, granted. But if a stock is like performing at $20 a share for like the longest time, and then it spikes up to like 98, wouldn't you want to research into why it's doing that and understand if it's like a long-term thing?
I'm sure they do.
I don't know.
But you don't want to buy when it's at 98.
I don't think they do.
That's a horrible time to buy.
I don't know if you're a
shareholder.
You want to
buy when it's at 20.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, so on the next Raw, Trump announced that he was going to refund everybody their tickets.
Yeah, was that a shoot?
No, I doubt it.
So they were totally cool refunding everybody's ticket?
No, I don't think they actually did.
It said in the article it cost them $250,000.
Oh, I guess so.
It ended up costing them hella money.
Wow, that's crazy.
So my question is, did Donald Trump go out there and
start handing out $100 bills to
spend
everybody?
WWE's money?
I don't know. I don't remember. I got to watch that footage again. But then by the end of the show, Vince showed up, bought back Raw, of course, for double the price that he sold it for, and put an end to that storyline so that stock prices wouldn't dip any further.
Yeah, here it is. Trump announced, so to make matters worse during the next Raw.
From a Goliath article, yeah.
Thank you. To make matters worse during the next Raw, which was presented commercial-free, though it was heavily sponsored by KFC Grilled Chicken, Trump announced that everyone in attendance would have their ticket money refunded at the end of the show, costing WWE roughly another $250,000. Now, I don't know if he did that as a shoot or if that was, hey, we're willing to actually refund the money.
Yeah.
But evidently that was the case.
This is after their match at WrestleMania. This is 2 years later.
This was 2 years later? Oh, my God. Hey, you know what, though?
Even then, I mean, most of these panic moves can all be tied back to crap ratings.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure.
In 2009, I mean, he probably thought Vince did well, WrestleMania 23 is the most profitable.
Yeah, and it makes sense.
Mania of all time because Trump was involved. Was bring Trump back.
That makes it. It actually does make sense. Like you can't really. That does make sense.
And then you end up costing stockholder 7%.
Yeah.
Whoops.
How did I'm curious though, like if Donald Trump was losing like $1 billion back in the
over the course of 10 years, whatever it was.
Yeah. Where do you get your money from?
Those stakes he puts his name on. I don't know.
Can we do a review of
It's
Trump
all just
stakes?
creative accounting, man.
It is. We need to figure some of that out, man. I feel like we could be getting like refunds.
I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror if I had to resort to those level of tactics.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I would have no problem looking at myself. It'd be sleeping. It's like, am I going to get audited tomorrow? They're going to come after
yes.
me. The answer is probably going to be yes.
The answer would be yes.
I've never, on TurboTax, I've never had a thing that said, ooh, this seems sketchy. But I feel like there's probably a prompt that says, this isn't a good idea.
Well, it's the same time when they say, oh, you're in the clear, you're not getting audited. I take that with a grain of salt. They probably tell that to everybody.
Yeah, and then you get audited and they say, oh, for $1,500, we'll help you.
They send you the shrug emoji. And then that. For $1,500, we will redo your taxes for you to ensure that you won't be audited.
Oh, God damn it. Here we go. Number 4.
4.
Oh, God. Look at that. I'm sorry if you're watching on YouTube. There's a giant picture of an ugly ape face. It's Vince Russo. Look at his flared nostrils. They're so angry.
Oh, my gosh.
Vince Russo rehired. Woo! Why did this happen?
This is in June of 2002. Apparently, again, ratings were, for the time, in the toilet. A 3.9.
Oh, my God. That was in the toilet?
Yeah.
A 3.9?
Yeah.
Holy crap. Just for perspective, what is it now?
Oh, like 1. It's horrible now.
It's 1.
But when it was 5 and 6, this is in the aftermath of Mania 17.
Yeah.
So Vince rehired Vince Russo, and the whole thing lasted a matter of days. I think a couple of days. He was brought in, pitched some ideas.
From PW Torch has this. Within a day or two, Vince Russo's position had already been scaled back to a role as a mere consultant.
Yeah.
And this is how PW Torch frames this. The rehiring of Russo indicates that Vince McMahon is in dire search of a solution to the continued diminished interest in his product. Raw and SmackDown ratings continue to drop. Attendance is dismal and buy rates are at multi-year lows. The trade media and mainstream media are picking up on the situation.
It was about a year, after WrestleMania 17.
As a Wire story originating in Variety this week, documenting the drop in TV ratings was published in several major publications. Rehiring Russo may have been partly a PR move, giving WWE a chance to tell investors they had just rehired the writer who helped them take to the promised land. See, it's all just duct tape.
Yeah, no. So at the beginning of 2002, the first episode of 2002 got a 4.9. And then it reached its peak in the build to Mania at 5.4. And then starting early May, it really takes a nosedive. 4.6 to a 3.9. And then bumps back to 4 early June. And then, June 17th, it's a 3.9.
It's because they made their top star look like an asshole at the end of WrestleMania 17.
Yeah, this is a whole year later.
Jeez. Yeah, wow.
I know, it's pretty bad.
Let's see here. There's some more from PW Torch here that's kind of interesting. Sources say the ideas were so poorly received that within hours, not even days, Larson, hours, Russo's role had been changed. So he hits the send button. Oh, bro, I've got all these ideas.
Apparently they did a meeting.
Oh, okay. The ideas were so poorly received. Russo's role had been changed from a hands-on creative director to a hands-off creative consultant. Triple H, the game himself, was said to be especially upset with the ideas expressed by Russo. I wonder what the ideas that they had for Triple H were, because that's all Triple H back in 2002. He cared about one guy.
Triple H.
Triple H.
Russo probably had none ideas for Triple H, and that's why he got upset about it.
And Stephanie McMahon was said to be instrumental in convincing her father to give the current writing team more time.
And Torch continues, quote, "The hiring of Russo was not a decision made solely in reaction to Stone Cold's departure. Russo and McMahon had been in talks for several weeks. Informed sources tell the Torch that Russo had sent feelers to McMahon through a friend of his at WB headquarters, who that friend then told Shane McMahon of Russo's interest in speaking with his father, and then Shane arranged for that meeting to happen.
Man. Wow.
It's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So this must have been after Stone Cold walked out, right? Yeah, this is around King of the Ring time, because he was supposed to lose that qualifying match to, it was the June 10th episode of Raw.
I'm going to play devil's advocate really quick.
All right.
Russo was responsible for some pretty cool stuff during the Attitude Era.
Oh, yeah.
Why is it his ideas would suck so hard at this point? It's only 4 years later.
I don't have an answer for that.
It's sort of weird, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
maybe. Well, here's the thing: is as we saw in WCW, when he had free reign of things, there was a lot of terrible. And not to say there wasn't a lot of terrible in the Attitude Era, because there was.
mm-hmm.
But it felt like Russo was kind of reined in. Because Vince has, we can see that now, has a very old school approach to how he wants his wrestling to be presented and written.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like Russo didn't really care to adhere to any sort of rules in that respect.
Yeah, right.
And so he had that push and pull. Again, it's a Donnie Darko thing where you had Vince Russo who had a bunch of crazy ideas, and Vince might say, okay, well, I like some of that. Let's walk it back a little bit. And then, in the years between him leaving and him being apparently rehired, maybe just the attitude within the walls of Titan Towers changed. They weren't interested in doing that kind of smash TV type product anymore. They were looking to do something different.
Yeah, that could be. It is just interesting that his ideas, if this is to be believed, were so poorly received that this snap back. Okay, nope, never mind. Really bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
You're now a completely different role.
Mm-hmm.
That is very interesting. I'm curious.
And part of it could be this, like a personality issue too.
That could be too. I mean, like you said, backstage, who knows? People have their agendas. Maybe people were just not willing. And again, I'm giving benefit of the doubt here because the guy did do a lot of good stuff in the Attitude Era. We know that.
Yep.
Maybe people just didn't want to listen. Maybe regardless of what he had, maybe if he had, wrestling's version of Hamlet, they still would have been like, this is terrible. We don't even want to work with this guy. No, that could be the case.
It's entirely possible.
Yeah. So anyways, number 3. WrestleMania 9's finish.
Oh, gosh.
Mm-hmm.
So, Of course, this is in the earlier days of New Generation. Steroid trial was going on around this time, roughly, or starting to. We'll get to that in a little bit. Vince wanted to focus or put the spotlight more on wrestlers who didn't look like they used steroids.
Yeah.
Bret Hart was becoming immensely popular. He was champion.
Yes.
And it seemed like, especially he was apparently, this is all according to the Pritchard podcast. One of WrestleMania 9 might be my favorite one. It's great.
It's really good.
Bret was especially popular in Europe, where there was a tour planned right after WrestleMania 9. So you'd think you'd want, your current most popular full-time babyface be carrying that belt on a European tour. This Mania was Hogan's return. I believe WrestleMania 8 was supposed to be his retirement.
Yeah.
He kind of disappeared for a bit. He came back here. And I guess Vince decided instead, well, the product isn't where I want it. Ratings aren't where I want it. Let's put the belt on Hogan, give him one last run on this European tour, and kind of give him his send-off before he fully retires. And then we'll get back to this New Generation stuff. Problem is, Hogan wasn't on the European tour that followed WrestleMania 9.
Yeah.
And hearing Bruce and Conrad go back and forth about that is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, we've talked about it a couple of times because we cannot reiterate how many times or how just how much you should listen to it.
It's
really good.
fantastic. It's insane.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like a purely reactionary move. Oh, ratings aren't good. Product's not great. Let's harken back to our heyday, put the strap on Hogan, and see if he can pull us out of the doldrums.
The funniest thing about this is 1 year prior, WrestleMania 8, they really, really pushed that as his send-off. They really pushed that as his retirement. They even had like a sit-down interview where he was talking in what seems to be his real voice, and he was very, I guess melancholy might be kind of the word. He was very
Reflective?
Reflective, yeah. Introspective is the word I was looking for.
Gotcha.
But yeah, reflective is good too. About his time in the WWE, WWF at the time. And so, yeah, it was pretty shocking, especially like when you, Conrad, I think in that episode had referenced Bret Hart's biography, his autobiography. And, talking about, I saw Hogan and he was, slimmed down a lot. He looked a lot different. And so it's one of those things where I don't even know if Hogan wanted to come back for like a full-time thing or whatever, because he was only back for a short period of time. He won here and then he left in June after King of the Ring. So yeah, I mean it was a like barely even. I mean I don't even consider this a Band-Aid. I mean I'm not sure if business really picked up on the heels of this. I mean the crowd in attendance seemed to like it because it was kind of a shocking thing.
Yeah, it was shocking.
That was a good crowd though. That crowd was into everything.
Oh yeah.
And they weren't given a lot to like.
No. It was a terrible Mania.
Moving on. Number 2. Hulk Hogan's testimony. Look at that. I got a steroid trial coming up. Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
But I hurt my neck.
Oh, my neck. Oh, my neck. Never show weakness.
So the question here is not for Vince's trial. It was for Dr. George Zahorian's trial a couple years prior.
Yeah, okay.
Apparently, like, WWF was concerned about Zahorian's indictment in a pending trial in, I think, June of 91. But then there was an article in USA Today that with the headline, Hulk, bulk from a bottle. Of course, the Hulk in question here is Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, right.
And apparently, right after that, Vince told his lawyer, someone who used to be a U.S. attorney, Jerry McDevitt, to get Hogan out of testifying.
Uh-oh.
He didn't want Hogan testifying, probably because, for several reasons. One, he probably didn't want his marquee name connected with steroids.
Yeah.
And probably also didn't want him testifying to protect himself.
Correct.
So Vince's lawyer went to a federal judge and made the argument that the prosecutors didn't need Hogan involved to make their case. Apparently, they said this is all from a book called "Sex, Lies, and Headlocks." Vince's lawyer said that Hogan was only listed 6 times in the FedEx logs, and he argued, and that was far less than Piper. Yeah. So the idea that if Piper testified, that would be enough to make the connection, essentially, between Zahorian and wrestlers.
So the indication was Piper was like on the juice?
Yeah, he admitted to it in court.
Oh, okay.
And then Vince's lawyer argued. This is from the book, quote, "The collateral damage that would be done to the company by unnecessarily singling out Hogan would be immense." The judge bought that argument, and Vince's lawyer rushed to his office to dictate a press release that was sent out to any reporter who called, quote, "Hulk Hogan did nothing illegal and is not charged with any illegality," it said. "He has no place in this trial, will not appear there. Instead, the focal point of the trial will now return to its proper place, the alleged illegal activities of a physician."
I have to check out that book.
Yeah. I mean, but Hogan did end up testifying at Vince's trial.
Yeah. But he basically just he hooked Vince up, basically. He didn't say. I think wasn't Hogan like a fairly I don't know. Wasn't he was very pro Vince in that testimony. Like really helped him out. So you scratch my back, I scratch yours, brother.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I did a little bit more reading on the trial.
Yeah.
To kind of do a little bit of research for this, and it's crazy that like there was packages from Dr. Zahorian that was sent directly to Titan Towers.
Jeez.
And according to this too, like the town where he practiced was known to wrestlers is like a popular vacation spot for wrestlers, and it's like Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
I don't think they really went there to vacation though.
I'm not sure how many like lovely resorts there are.
Well, I mean, it's like Hershey is where the Hershey chocolate factory.
Chocolate, yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess you can go enjoy the chocolate factory.
Isn't that it though, right? That's it.
Probably,
right?
I don't know. I've never been to Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania is landlocked, isn't
it? For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
There's part of it. The eastern part borders the Delaware River.
Yeah.
No, there's a little part of it that borders Lake Erie.
Let's take a look. Pennsylvania.
Because there's the Erie Canal.
Let's see here.
Right there, just a little bit.
Oh, yeah, a little bit right there. Where's Hershey now?
It's by Harrisburg, I believe.
Look at our awesome. Oh, Hershey. Not a lot of. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. There's this car. What is this, like a car museum?
Old timey cars there.
Photos. Here we go. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, this is a nice little thing right here.
That's pretty cool.
Look at that. It's like a vehicular museum
of some arena sort. There. Yeah.
Yeah. Little tiny weird house right here.
Oh, it looks lovely.
Look at this little patch of grass.
Mm-hmm.
This is
grass
cool
is always nice.
Yeah. Photoshop like Brutus Beefcake laying out right here. Got to get my son, brother. Anyways. Oh, there's Hershey's Chocolate World.
There you go.
Gotta go there, man. Oh, they got an amusement park.
Yeah.
Man, this seems like a great vacation destination. I'm sure it has nothing to do with steroids.
The implication in this
Larson.
book was at the time I think Piper said something like, the wrestlers would go there and get their meds from the doctor.
Well, my goodness. Anyways, moving on. Number one. The Montreal Screwjob.
Especially after watching that episode of Dark Side of the Ring, it's plainly obvious that Vince freaked out about something.
Yeah, man.
And
he gave Bret Hart creative control. Bad idea.
Yeah, but Bret had 4 weeks left on his deal. He didn't have to drop the belt that day.
Deal.
Vince had it in his head that Bret had to drop the belt that day.
Yeah.
And apparently he just panicked and said, all right, well, let's do it.
Yeah, but wasn't there... Hold on a second, though. When did Bret agree to term... Was there an overlap between Bret? I thought the deal was on Nitro, they would be able to announce that they have reached a deal with WWF champion Bret Hart.
Could they announce that deal when he was still under contract with WWF?
I don't know. I don't know if... Vince had given Bret Hart's... according to the documentary, Wrestling with Shadows, Vince had given Bret the go-ahead to sign the deal with WCW.
He did. But between Dark Side of the Ring and what Meltzer reported in the newsletter of the following issue, it was that Bret had 3 weeks on his deal after the Survivor Series 97, and Bischoff agreed to give him an extra week so he could drop the belt at the next pay-per-view. So he had 4 weeks left. They had 4 weeks left to do something.
Yeah. I don't know. I just go back to the thing that I saw, and I don't even know where it was, but the idea that at the next Nitro they were able to say that they had the WWF champion.
Well, I mean, Vince was going around backstage saying, "Well, if he doesn't drop the belt tonight, then he can show up on Nitro with the WWF title, and we can't have that."
Yeah, but
which apparently was an impossibility. Given
they had already sued WCW over that also, didn't they, or something? I don't know what it was. In any event, y'all know the story. Bret Hart, he was on the way out. He was going to WCW. He was champion, and he very stubbornly felt that. And whether you think he's right or wrong, I'm not going to say. I think that he signed a contract saying that he had creative control to a degree over his character.
Over the last 90 days of the deal or something like that.
Yeah. So, he has every right to say, no, I don't do any of these things. Vince McMahon then has every right to go ahead and do them anyways, apparently. It's because that's what he did.
It's just interesting that he forced a timetable upon himself that might not have been necessary.
Yeah, I don't know. I from the outside looking in, it's we can speculate all day long. I know Vince... I understand Vince is a quirky fella.
Yeah,
he gets something in his head, and then Jim Cornette in the Viceland documentary, I would suggest this. If what you're saying is true, I would think that Jim Cornette probably would have spoke up and said, we have more time. It's really not that big of a deal. It seemed like everybody, the consensus was time was of the essence.
Maybe, but the way Cornette talked about presenting the idea of the screw job, it wasn't like it wasn't thought out, because he seems obviously well steeped in wrestling history, but it was just like, well, we could do this. Mm-hmm. And he didn't hear anything else of it until it actually happened.
I guess nobody in the course of all that stuff, like Bret Hart, nobody has said, well, we have plenty more time. I guess that's my thing, is that nobody's really said, well, there did seem to be some sort of this has to happen soon. It has to happen before that Monday Nitro airs. So, evidently something was going to happen, whether it's them announcing, hey, we have the champion or what, I don't know. But in any event, nobody could come to a consensus on how to properly do this and make everybody happy.
Yeah.
So at Survivor Series 1997, Jim Cornette suggested, after being asked, how do we handle this? He said, well, you do a swerve. You legit swerve the guy, and you take that title off him. And he suggested the sharpshooter thing. He said that's his move, and what's Brett going to do? He can't go to the press and say, well, it's fake.
Yeah,
he's not going to do that.
Business. He's not going to do that.
Yeah, which was awesome.
Yeah, so, pretty smart.
So yeah. But definitely, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a legitimate panic move there on Vince's part.
Yeah.
That dude. He's got a business to run.
It's interesting. He didn't work all that out before saying to Brett, you can go ahead and negotiate with WCW. That's kind of an interesting move.
You know what's funny though? That kind of thing seems to happen. Well, back then, anyways, quite a bit.
There was
things were kind of loosey goosey.
Well, there was a lot of things happening in good faith.
Yes. Yeah. Take a look. Oh, well, who's my Intercontinental Champion? When does Jeff Jarrett's contract run out? We sure about that? Okay, cool. Just want to make sure we're not in a position to get screwed. Mm-hmm. You would think there'd be some lawyer overseeing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no.
Hey, Vince, Jeff Jarrett's contract's coming up before the pay-per-view. So maybe have him drop it before the pay-per-view, or tell him now, hey, can we sign you for an extra day?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't hold you up, which apparently Jeff Jarrett has his own side of that.
Yeah.
He just wanted to make sure he got the money that was owed him.
Yes.
So good for him. Man, you got to look out. Sometimes you just have to look out for number one.
That's true.
For number one. That's right. Not with us, though. I got your back, dude.
Yeah, and I have yours.
Do you really?
Yeah.
All right. That's good to know. Anyways, hope you have a good time on your trip this weekend.
Thank you.
Maybe suck down some booze. Let loose a little bit. Have fun?
Mm-mm.
No? No fun to be had?
I'm not going to have any fun this weekend.
It's a wedding. You're going to have fun.
Let's see.
I enjoy weddings.
Yeah, they're all right.
Anyways, thanks so much, everybody, for watching. We appreciate it. And until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.
Be a part of Going In Raw today at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Starting at $1 a month, you can enjoy Going In Raw ad-free, gain access to the daily 30-minute Going In Raw post show, exclusive merchandise, and so much more. Support Going In Raw today. Click the link in the description.